France, the 15th century, a celebrated knight who fought alongside Joan of Arc. Adored by kings and feared by enemies, became one of history's most terrifying serial killers. Blood, sorcery, and a descent into madness that shocked France forever. How does a hero transform into a monster who lured children into death? You're about to find out. Before we dive in, hit subscribe and join Mysterious Anecdotes, where we uncover the darkest corners of history textbooks won't tell you. Gilles de Rais was born in 1405 to Gilles de Rais and Marie de Laval, one of Brittany's wealthiest and most powerful noble families. From birth he inherited castles, estates, and wealth richer than many kings. Trained in the arts of war and chivalry, Gilles displayed courage, skill, and an intensity unusual even for a noble child. By his mid-20s, he earned the prestigious title of Marshal of France, reserved for only the most trusted commanders. His valor caught the attention of Joan of Arc, and he became one of her most loyal supporters during the critical campaigns of the 100 Years' War. Together, Gilles and Joan fought in decisive battles like Orléans in 1429. Celebrated as a hero, Gilles seemed destined for greatness. Yet behind the honor was a restless, intense mind, preoccupied with life, death, and secrets few dared to explore. When Joan was captured and burned in 1431, grief and anger consumed him, sparking a darkness that would shadow the rest of his life. Following his time in the military, Gilles was left feeling deeply sad and emotionally drained. To deal with his emotions and find happiness, he turned inward and began immersing himself in entertainment and luxury. He invested heavily in lavish plays and spectacles depicting his victories, featuring hundreds of actors in gold-embellished costumes. Stages and sets were so ornate they resembled miniature palaces. Guests marveled, yet whispered about bizarre, candlelit rituals that no one dared question. Feasts fit for kings lined long tables laden with exotic spices, imported wines, and gold dishes. But even amid this splendor, observers sensed a darkness. Gilles seemed hungry, not just for wealth but for power and forbidden experiences. He wandered hallways alone, whispered to himself, and hid sketchbooks filled with cryptic symbols. As his fortune dwindled, the hero of France began a dark transformation. He turned to forbidden knowledge, arcane books, secret manuscripts, and men shunned by society for claiming access to supernatural power. In his obsession with reclaiming lost wealth and power, Gilles began experimenting with rituals, summoning demons, and searching for supernatural ways to increase his riches. The brilliant heroic knight was undergoing a dark transformation. The shining champion of France was fading into a man consumed by vice, greed, and forbidden knowledge. Even during his lavish entertainments, signs of obsession and cruelty appeared. Guests witnessed strange performances, ritual-like in appearance, while behind the laughter and music, Gilles explored paths that would lead him into the arcane and the occult. As his obsession deepened, his rituals became more extreme. Magical circles, sigils, midnight chants, and animal sacrifices. He surrounded himself with books filled with cryptic symbols and manuscripts claiming to summon spirits, and sought guidance from outcasts and charlatans. Among them was Francesco Prelati, an Italian priest turned sorcerer and con artist, who promised Gilles treasure and power through alchemy and the summoning of demons. Prelati taught him to attempt turning base metals into gold, and instructed him in rituals designed to secure wealth and supernatural aid. Prelati claimed they attempted to summon a demon at the castle of Tifoges, with Gilles watching. On another occasion the demon was allegedly questioned in a meadow near Jocelyn. Gilles even drafted a contract offering vast treasures in exchange for the demon's obedience. But frustration soon consumed him. After 3 failed attempts, the demon supposedly demanded a horrifying offering, the body parts of a child. Gilles complied, placing them in a glass vessel, yet nothing appeared. His wealth dwindled, rage consumed him, and the once heroic knight descended fully into darkness. The celebrated Marshal of France had become a figure of ritualistic cruelty, driven by grief, ambition, and obsession with forbidden power. Candles flickered over cryptic symbols, animals were sacrificed, and Gilles chanted into the shadows as if they spoke back. Soon rumors spread. Children from nearby villages began to vanish. Survivors spoke of strange, ritualistic games in the castle halls, revealing Gilles' fixation on control over life and death. Some accounts suggest that human sacrifices were also made, with children kidnapped, abused, and killed in ceremonies aimed at summoning demons. His castles, once halls of celebration, became chambers of horror. He withdrew from family and friends, dedicating nights to Prelati's arcane teachings, Consumed by paranoia and obsession, court records confirm his connection to ritualistic killings, with victims sometimes burned or scattered to hide evidence, their deaths entwined with Gilles' warped belief in supernatural gain. While some claims may have been exaggerated, it is clear that Gilles believed supernatural forces could make him invincible, even immortal. His thirst for power had crossed into pure depravity, erasing the hero who had once inspired nations. By 1440, parents could no longer stay silent. Villagers reported missing children, prompting church and secular authorities to act. Gilles was arrested and charged with murdering children, sodomy, invoking demons, offending the divine majesty, and heresy. Documents from Gilles' 1440 trial reveal the disturbing details of his rituals. In candlelit chambers he drew mystical circles, carved cryptic symbols, and chanted midnight spells to summon demons. Witnesses recalled animal sacrifices, violent curses when spirits did not appear, and even whispered of blood offerings and human remains offered in hopes of regaining wealth and immortality. While some historians argue that these claims are exaggerated, court records confirm that ritualistic killings took place. Gilles was convinced that demons could make him untouchable, immortal, and restore his fortune. The evidence was overwhelming. Servants admitted to aiding in ceremonies, accomplices described grotesque sacrifices, and grieving families told of children kidnapped, abused, and discarded, sometimes burned to ash, other times abandoned in fields to release their spirits. Even Gilles himself under interrogation gave chilling confessions that shocked the court. He admitted to sacrifices, occult rituals, and dealings with demonic forces, describing acts so horrific they stunned those who heard them. For many, it was unimaginable that a hero of France could sink to such depths. It was a spectacle. People gathered outside the court, whispering in shock as the once revered knight faced judgment. On October 23, 1440, Poitou and Henriette, his loyal servants, were sentenced to death. Just 2 days later, Gilles faced the same fate. The ecclesiastical court claimed he murdered 140 children or more, while the secular court gave no number, only noting the deaths of several small children. Before his execution, Gilles was allowed to confess and begged to be buried in the monastery of Notre-Dame des Carmes in Nantes. His request was granted. Yet no burial could silence the shadow of his crimes, which turned a national hero into one of history's darkest figures. On the morning of October 26, 1440, the people of Nantes gathered on the Ile de Biesse to witness the end of Gilles de Rais, the once revered knight who had become France's darkest villain. At 9 o'clock, Gilles and his accomplices, Henriette and Poitou, were led to the scaffold. Shockingly calm, Gilles addressed the crowd with words of repentance, urging his companions to face death bravely and focus only on salvation. He had begged to be the first to die, and that request was granted. He was ordered to be hanged and then burned, a punishment meant to wipe out both his body and soul. By 11 o'clock, the brushwood was lit on fire. Smoke swirled around the platform as Gilles was hanged before the flames took hold. But unlike the fate awaiting his followers, his body was cut down before the fire claimed it. In a final twist of privilege, it was delivered into the hands of 4 ladies of high rank, who ensured he received a proper burial. Henriette and Poitou were not so fortunate. Their bodies were reduced to ash and scattered in the wind, erased without honor, without legacy. The once heroic knight of France died not as a warrior but as a criminal, leaving behind one of the darkest legacies in medieval history. Gilles de Rais' story haunted France for centuries. Historians still debate the extent of his guilt, but trial records, confessions, and eyewitness accounts remain undeniable. Ambition, grief, and sorcery intertwined into a legacy of terror. Gilles de Rais serves as a cautionary tale, a man whose brilliance and bravery were eclipsed by darkness, whose thirst for power led him into the abyss, and whose name echoes as one of Europe's first and most horrifying documented serial killers. If you are fascinated or horrified by Gilles de Rais, there's much more to explore. Subscribe to Mysterious Anecdotes and join us as we delve into the shadows, where history's darkest secrets wait.